Marriage and Money podcast.
Yes, indeed, with
Egypt and Mike.
And Mike.
And guys, I mean, Mike and I, you gotta know, after 21 years of being together, when we're in the car is when we have our most profound conversations, just on the way, wherever we find ourselves in, just the most interesting spaces.
The downloads.
So on the way here today, it was about, well, what drives you? Not what drove you then, what drives you now? What keeps you going?
I mean, the obvious, my family, my 3 girls, my wife, the need to evolve. Not the want, the need to evolve, because I don't want to be stagnant. I never want to feel stagnant, right? So there's always this. Matter of fact, I always find myself sometimes saying, you haven't done enough, you got to do more. And then I got to go back and go, wait, no, do you remember where you were? Like, you've come a long way, but it's still not enough. And I think that mindset keeps me going.
But enough for whom?
Myself. Within, literally, it's like you've been broke. Wait, you've been on tour and you've had thousands and millions. You've been broke again, and you kept going. So for me, it's always that, when is it going to be enough? I ask myself that periodically.
Well, because that was going to be my question to you too, because the many people would say, Mike, you own a company, you have a TV show, you've got a beautiful family, you got a gorgeous wife, by the way. No.
She is.
So some would say, Mike, why hasn't that been sufficient? Why do you drive yourself so hard? Why do you go so much? Like, when are you going to relax and just enjoy the fruits of your labor?
I think it's different for everybody, right? It's that freedom aspect to be able to say, if I go away for a week and do nothing, will my family be okay? Will the businesses be okay? Are they running themselves? And I can honestly say I don't feel like we're at that point yet to where we can literally not show up and be present.
So I have, I almost want to call it PTSD, because for me, whenever I sit still, like just to watch TV, even if we're on the beach and I'm supposed to be relaxing and enjoying the sounds of the waves, I feel guilty. Like, you're lazy. Get your ass up and go to work. Go build something. Go do something. Go design something. And I had to ask myself, in a state of utter exhaustion, why I go so hard. What is my reason why underneath? What does it stem from? And I remember a very specific moment in my life, where I was growing up. My mom, very early on, was a single mom of my sister and I. My stepfather came in our lives, and he is the father that I know. I've shared that many times. However, I remember vividly, living in a 1-bedroom apartment, eating sugar bread for dinner. And that was, we didn't know any different. Come on, kids, sugar bread, that was dessert. Right. We were happy. But
bologna with that bubble on it when you fry it?
the fried bologna.
Sure.
Fried bologna. But I remember my mom had tears in her eyes. And, we were supposed to be in bed, sleep after that. And she was talking to my mom about, she was talking to my aunt who had come over so we could overhear, ear jocking, that she was sad because she felt that that's all that she had to give us at that moment. And kids are resilient. We didn't know any different. But for me, the trauma was hearing my mother cry and being upset about the state where she felt she was. Now, fast forward, she went on to become a top advertising executive. My sister and I, have done very well for ourselves because of what my mother and father have been able to build, in the life that they showed us. But, that PTSD from that moment, just being a kid, hearing your mother cry, like really boo-hooing, made me say, when I grow up, I'm going to push so hard. I'm going to build so much. I'm going to do so much. I'm going to buy my mama a house. She'll never want for anything. I'm going to retire my parents. Okay. And that has been my underfueling reason why.
Fear?
For everything. Fear that I would be in a position of where I couldn't do for my family and they'd be in tears. Okay. Does that make sense? That they'd be in tears. But now, here I am trying to do something for my mom all the time. And she won't take it, will she? Ma, let's go on vacation. No, don't spend your money. Ma, you need a new car? No, don't spend your money. So, but I think it's interesting that we found ourselves having this conversation on the way over here today, because understanding a person's underlying reason why is the real core to having a solid, healthy relationship on any level. Because, you know, things are very few and far in between what they appear to be on the surface, right?
I'll say this, though. Despite those moments of feeling like there's more to do, there's not enough yet, we're not at the point, at any minute, if this was to cease and desist or my finances were at zero, I'd still be okay. Because in the midst of all of it, I know that God can do it again. Literally.
You lost it, you got it back.
That's literally my mindset. So even though there's a drive of you got to keep going, there's also the fact that if it ends now, it's all right.
Yeah, but we got to have a conversation one day about how to rest in your comfort of knowing that you'll never go back to broke because you made all the really smart financial decisions to ensure that never happens. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that on the next one.
Okay.
But right now we have some incredible guests that are joining us. Truly, they have built multi-million-dollar companies. You've seen the products in Target, Curls, and several products thereafter. Please help us welcome Mahisha and John Dellinger.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, stunning couple.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Stunning couple. How long have you been married?
22 years.
22
We're to
years.
add that up in my
Oh, you in your
Yeah.
20s too? We in our 20s as well.
All right. There we go.
That's not happening, Mike.
So 22 years.
Yes.
Is it a roller coaster? Is it a
Ooh-wee.
walk in the park? What is it?
We've had our roller coaster moments, but lately things are more kind of a walk in the park.
Okay.
It took us some time to kind of figure out how to get to that walk in the park.
Okay.
Sometime, yes.
Sometime. But
Yeah.
Dig into that. So y'all met when? At the very beginning, right, of your product launch?
Right before. So
Okay.
we
Yeah.
met. I was working at Intel Corporation, and I was single, having a good time, dating, and wasn't looking to find anyone. And that's the best time, ladies, is when you're not looking.
Yeah.
And he was there, IBM contract with Intel, walking in the aisle on his way to get lunch, I guess, in the cafe. And he was walking with his phone, talking about going to get a steak dinner or something tonight. And he looked different. Intel had nothing like that, no swag. It was, that's what it was.
Okay.
So I saw him, and I'm like, oh, who's that? And then we made eye contact, right?
we did. It was intentional. I put myself in a position to kind of create that moment.
So,
Oh,
it
you
was
felt
it
it.
was a fake phone call.
No. The phone call was real, but like it was when I saw her. She didn't know I saw her. I saw her walk by because she was like on her way. You could tell she was just about a business, get food, probably go back to the office. I saw her pass me, and I was like, "Ooh, wait, I need to like create a moment," because I was never that guy to like with the lines.
Okay.
And I was single at the time, commuting in from DC every week. That's where I lived. Going to Sacramento. I saw her, and the same thing. I had never seen no one like that at Intel, because Intel had a very like,
Very corporate,
typical
aesthetic.
corporate looking aesthetic, and then to see someone like that at Intel, I was like, shit, that don't fit, right? So I was like, let me meet her. So as we're going through like a salad bar line, it was one of those salad bars like where there's two sides. And so everywhere she moved, I moved. She was like the lettuce. I was like right in front of her. She was
Well,
giving
you were
her
like
little
past the
tomatoes.
cucumbers?
Right.
like, looking
Well,
up.
so it was like to create an opportunity where we can make eye contact. Because that was more me. I wasn't trying to like spit game so hard. But then when she got to the checkout line, I was right behind her. She turned around and like created that moment. Like we were almost bumped into each other. And so that's when we spoke.
So you felt it. He felt it.
Totally.
Both
Yeah.
of you were trying to figure
Absolutely.
out
Out the
how
gate.
to
Right.
communicate
That's
with
right.
one another.
Out the gate.
Yeah.
Out the gate. Yeah. It was-
Quick question: was this dress down Friday?
Okay, I was always dressed down because there was no one there.
Okay.
So I had no makeup on, hair in a bun, like just real
Okay.
casual.
Here's why I say that. So anyone in corporate right now, if you're trying to stand out, don't dress like everybody else in the office, and you might get a date. Okay.
That's right. Yeah, and I think I had the standard, IBM. We had like business casual, so I didn't
Okay.
stand out. I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a good time, yeah. So, but the next part is interesting. He got a lot of flack for this one. I think we should still say it and like dispel the belief that that was wrong. We were
Which
honest.
was what?
He first said, "Hi, my name is John. What's your name?" I said, "Mahisha Dellinger." Then he goes, "What do you do?" The first thing he wanted to know after my name was, "What do you do?"
Gotcha.
And his
Gotcha.
point was, he said later that had I been, he would have heard I was a receptionist, that's I'm a marketing program manager, he would have just hit it and quit it, is what he said. And he got a lot of flack for that. So let's give you.
So the real thing was what I said.
You told me that.
She was the last person that I would have expected to be working at an Intel corporation.
Okay.
You think Intel, you don't think someone like her. So that was just a joke.
Wait,
and
what's someone like her? Like beautiful and brilliant and flashy and
said,
black?
Literally,
like what?
No.
What are we
It's
saying?
like at Intel, you had a lot of like mostly men.
Yeah.
Like Caucasian, Asian men.
Okay.
You had like, Indian women and like Asian women, but not even
No
as
lookers
many.
on the other side.
And she just stood out.
She was like a model.
Right.
And you
So-
stood out on both sides. It was very
Exactly.
much
And the whole
monochromatic.
thing I said, that was a joke between
But
you
babe,
and
I
I.
think
But
you really
then like
meant
it
it.
like got out there.
And he got a lot of hate on
wasn't
social.
even like
So
that.
we can clear it up now.
Yeah, we could clear it up.
That,
It was just,
but you know what I want to say though? There are women who say, "Well, you need to do this, guys. You need to have that." So why not say what you wanted? Like,
what do
it's
you
okay
mean?
that you wouldn't have wanted to marry. I mean,
She's
Oh,
basically
well,
saying,
I had just met you. There was not even time
you
to
can have
determine
standards.
that.
I'm saying you can have standards without
Yeah,
explaining.
yeah. Well, during that time in my life, like you, I was traveling a lot with IBM as a consultant, so I would work on projects with different companies, right? And I think this goes way back. I think we were working on like a Y2K migration for all of Intel. And so, that was my gig. I was like on a project for a few months and then I would move on. And so I wasn't really looking, right?
But again, that's when you
Right,
find,
I wasn't looking, right?
Yep.
I think it's an honest thing to say, especially if it's like pillow talk. Because we've played with each other like that. I'm like, I don't know. I thought you were Mr. Right then. Right now.
Right.
I didn't know you were Mr. Forever. But, you don't expect that to get out or for it to be dissected.
So
it's kind of
upsetting.
fun that he's saying, I saw you in the hall. She was different. She was fine. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll hit it and quit it. But not thinking, oh, my God, she's so much more than that.
Right.
Yeah,
She's brilliant. She's a businesswoman. She's stunningly gorgeous inside and out. And I think I love her, right? That's pretty much what happened.
It wasn't, well, no. So, see,
Here we go.
I had
hot seat.
What
Here
happened?
we
Tell the truth.
go.
Tell the
So
truth.
no, there's layers to this. So like I had games. So I was like, all right. After I met her, I was like, man, she's beautiful, and she's not like any of the other girls I had dated in life. I was at that time like I'm from the East Coast. Like I had a type, and it was usually like around the way girls, hood kind of girls. That was like my thing. When I saw her, she was like a black Barbie doll for real. Because I had never really spent time in California, so she spoke different. Everything was different. So I was like, I know she gets a lot of like gentleman callers. I know like dudes try to holler at her all the time. So I'm gonna flip it, and I'm gonna like not press up on her. So don't get me wrong. I definitely showed interest, right? But like I didn't press up on her. I wasn't calling her.
Well, no,
like
no,
a lot.
You
a lot.
called
Like,
me, John.
I
No,
did,
no,
but
no,
come on.
No, babe.
So the bottom line is this. The
Come
bottom
on.
line is fast forward.
There's always several versions.
Fast forward a couple months. She's like asking me. She's like, are you interested in me like as a friend? Because I wasn't really pressing on her really hard intentionally. And then I said, nah, you know what? I have enough friends. I'm looking
Well,
for
you were
something a little bit more."
calling, but that did happen. You were calling,
Yeah.
but you were going slower than most men.
Right.
Not because you weren't calling, because if you weren't calling, you would have lost me. I
Well,
wouldn't have stayed in the
yeah,
wings.
it just I wasn't pressing as hard.
You weren't pressing as hard.
But
as I used to.
but so as a woman, who we probably share some similarities in our path and story and
Absolutely.
dating life and the whole thing. I will tell you that often the men who didn't chase me were the ones I was most attracted to.
Exactly.
The ones who chased me, I kind of expected, and it got boring really quickly.
And that's the card he played.
That's what
the
he
card I
played. He
played.
played the
That's-
smart card.
He
though.
did.
That's the psychology of it. Yeah, I was.
But, I mean, I was-
her wondering like, why isn't he like pressing up like this dude and this dude and this dude? It's like I don't want to be like those guys.
Yeah.
I want to stand out. So
We must be cousins or something on a certain wavelength. 'Cause, that was always my
might be
mentality.
the
Because I would
East
watch
Coast thing.
females get hit on over and over again. I'm like, I'm not going to be number 25.
right.
If she shows interest, I'll show up. But otherwise, I'm not. I'm very interested. But unless we eye contact hard or she says something, I'm not going to press the
We're on
Right.
the same wavelength. Then that's exactly how.
So
I
okay,
approached
so
it.
let's go back. So this is 22 years ago or so.
Yes.
This is
24.
24 years ago.
Yep.
So at this time, you're working there at the company, but you're also developing a product.
Did I start
That was a couple years
months
into it. Yeah.
Okay, so I was really in a bad situation with a bad manager who was targeting me. It was racist for sure. He was racist for sure. And that pushed me into my destiny of being an entrepreneur. That experience alone was the reason why I decided to find another path where I can own my legacy, my destiny, my financial, freedom. I didn't like the fact that this man put me on a plan to get rid of me, despite being first one in, last one out, exceptional worker, trying to do everything I was told to do to climb that ladder because I'm super motivated. And when I saw what was happening, it shifted my gears and my way of thinking. And when I got put on that plan, it really did wake up something in me.
It did.
Okay.
It was corrective action plan. And that's their way of documenting your exit. And so at any moment, he could have came in that morning and said, you're gone.
After all your work.
Right.
After all my work. I was a single young mother, and I didn't have anyone to fall back on. So I did have you, and we were dating, and you were my rock as I was crying through all that.
Yep.
It was a lot. But that's when I birthed Curls. It was in those dark moments, in the conference room during lunch, calling web developers, calling logo creators, calling, R&D people. I mean, just doing all of that and figuring out what I was going to do next.
I can relate to that entirely because that is where I found my career path, even in real estate and design, was on the unemployment line. I was actually hacked. Like,
Wow.
here's your pink slip, even though you're number one. But I think there are so many, not just women, but people, and often people of color who are put in these positions where we have earned our way. We've got the degrees, we have the resume, but still, you don't want me, I'm not good enough. And I think we're dealing with that now, seeing all of this DEI, get rid of DEI at all of these companies. And DEI, more than anything, has supremely benefited white women, then LGBTQ, then handicapped, then Black people, right? So let's just be clear.
Right.
But when they're axing DEI, the first ones to go are people of color. And so it's quite unfortunate because I've earned my way here. I didn't, we didn't get here because of DEI, but you think that because we're here, it had to be that someone did a favor for us, or we only got here because we were Black. That's quite frustrating. Right. And so for instance, a product like yours, which, people could find in Target, and we know Target has come under fire as of recent, many companies, for getting rid of DEI. And you no longer own it, right? I want to get into that.
I do not.
I want to get into that journey.
I do not.
But when you see this happen across the board in companies, what's your first reaction?
I was so wildly disappointed in Target. Not surprised at Walmart. Not, just honestly. But I was so surprised with Target. Target was my top partner, retail partner. They embraced all of us, Black women entrepreneurs, men as well. They gave us so much support and so much push, and they were really rooting for us. I felt like it was the perfect marriage in business. And to see that, it feels like, okay, was that real? But I mean, that's where I launched. When I catapulted from, being a small online business, it went to Target, and that's what blew us up. So that partnership was so important to me. And I saw how they worked with us, and I just so surprised. I don't know what's happening with leadership. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. I hope they rethink some things because their core audience, Black women, love them some Target, okay? Rethink Target. Yes. Rethink that before. I don't know what's going to happen, but it was disappointing.
Yeah, I think it felt, it's almost like, listen, if I'm out dating and I know you don't want me because I'm not your type, then fine, we understand that. But if we're dating and then you deceive me, it hurts deeper. So I think that's what it was. We looked at Target as the company that was for us, and it felt like a deep deceit. Right?
Exactly.
It was more hurtful.
Yes.
But with that said, one of the main reasons we really wanted to have you guys on was to talk about this incredible journey. And because we're at this very unique space in time, in the world, in the country, in economy, where folks are forced now to redefine themselves. And, pressure bursts pipes.
Yes.
That's right.
So there are those who are forced with, they're dealing with losing their jobs, be that they were federal workers, be that they were hacked because of DEI, be it that they just need to make a conscious shift so that they can own more of or co-create their own destiny, their financial destiny. You guys together have done that. And I recognize that it's like your company, but anything that I have done, it's been because he was the one holding me up, the wind beneath my wings, And so, talk to us about that, what that journey was like in marriage and in business, and how you guys managed to still stand strong.
You want to answer? I have a lot to say about that. I mean, really, I literally could not have done it
Mm-hmm.
without him. No ego with it. No ego at all, which I respect and honor and appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
It was truly a teamwork. He did say early on, Mahisha, I cannot work for you ever. Don't ask. He made that very clear.
Yeah.
But he was a strong support system. We have a
Right.
lot of kids.
Right.
I couldn't have done it with all those kids.
You're
Yeah.
4, right?
4.
Yeah,
and
but-
2 of them are like 14 months apart.
Yeah, so it was a difficult time actually. We survived, and I definitely have been supportive since day one. I mean, early days of Curls, we're packaging things. I'm dropping them off at the post office, but there was a very difficult time in our marriage that did create a lot of issues, more for me, because our roles shifted, and it was really difficult for me to really accept that initially.
How did it shifted? How?
Well, I think in the beginning, we had kind of I was kind of the breadwinner, and it was very, traditional roles. And when Curls first started, we did everything together. So nothing really changed. We had 2 babies almost back to back, super busy. But then when Target happened and it just exploded, I became more of the homemaker. And then I had to make the decision. I was in corporate America, I was upwardly mobile, and there were many opportunities I had to go into like corporate leadership
Right.
that I turned down because it just would not work. It would have required a lot of travel. It would have been that like we would have had nannies raising our kids at a very young age in an important time. So I decided to kind of step back in my career so that she could flourish in hers. And my thought process was, it's great to be able to have success in a corporation,
Right.
but it's nothing like being able to have your own business.
Right.
So like,
Right.
I'm going to step back. And so like, I still worked and everything, but then I was, doing most of the shopping and a lot of the cooking and it didn't sit right. I knew it was the right thing to do, but still as a man, it bothered me on the inside.
Did it make you feel less of a man?
I don't know if it made me feel, you know what, if I'm being honest, I think it probably did for some time. But the problem came from me not sharing that.
That was my.
And I
was about to
ate
ask you
that for so long. And it didn't really manifest into our marriage until years later.
And
where
how did it
I mean,
manifest?
recently, I didn't know he was not communicating this for a long time. Like, Lateria's show, I don't know what happened. You brought
No,
it up at some
it's
point.
been a few years, but no, I think what happened during that time, like it was like the family was almost being run like a well-oiled machine.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like she was busy, she was traveling, I was trying my best to hold it down at home. Kids were growing up. Obviously, she was very involved. Don't get me wrong, but it was like looking back, we should have done a better job creating time for ourselves to create those opportunities to have these types of conversations. I just internalized it, and I just said, look, this is, you're supporting the family, you're supporting her. She's doing, super proud of her. I mean, there's no way I could do what she does. I personally believe not everybody can be an entrepreneur.
That's true.
So it takes a
very
certain
true.
type of person. So
Where you at in your space emotionally, spiritually, and job wise right now in this moment?
Well, now job-wise is great because like one of the ways that I felt like I could support and do my thing is shortly after the kids got a little bit older, I started to do the real estate investing for the family. Started with a duplex in Sacramento, and still do that today. Different investments, short-term rentals, things like that. So I feel like I contribute that way. And now the kids are older. She's on to different things. I'm able to continue to do my corporate thing. I've started brands, a sneaker company now. And so we support each other that way. But for a long time, it was just that internal, like it was that, I would see people that I would like were my peers at my company move up into leadership for roles that like I should have had.
Gotcha.
And that did bother me.
Gotcha.
I really do appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that with us. It's real. It's honest. And, when you're in a coupleship and one person's career maybe takes off, I think what often gets ignored is, well, what does that do to the family unit? I won't even say ignored. overlooked because you don't expect it. We often don't expect how wildly successful we are going to be. And the question is, are you prepared for that success on every level? You know, not just financially, not just do you have the infrastructure to support it. Do we have the bandwidth at home, you know, to be able to support what that might do to the other person's dreams and, you know, visions, career, where they want to go as well. And so,
you know what,
how
babe?
did you,
Before you ask the question, not just overlook, and I speak to this because someone at home may be going through this, not forget, not overlook, but the expectation of the breadwinner. What I mean by this, right? So in the man's role, you see the woman catapulting, she's taking off. The woman expecting you to automatically accept it. The woman automatically expecting you to dig in and help out. The woman automatically expecting you to keep up, right? However, the opportunity was presenting to that person. So let's say hypothetically, okay, your drinks, you get hit with a $2 million contract. However, this person is still in corporate at a base salary. And you're like, you're not keeping up. I'll never be able to keep up, right? And that causes tension. So that expectation part is the part that never gets spoken on as well.
We had some
silent expectations.
We went through some of that.
That's deep.
Yeah. I mean, listen, when I started on television, we met in a whole different career. I was a radio personality, he was a DJ, and I was a real estate investor, he was a contractor. You know, we like met doing something else, and it worked. It worked. But then when life starts to morph, you grow, you change, you know, God elevates you. Then it's, well, how do we look now? We need to re-meet. Or can we still get along? Does this marriage still work? You know, that kind of thing. How did you navigate? I mean, obviously there was an issue, and then she knew. You kept it inside for a long time. Once you knew, then what?
How did you deal with it, or how did I deal with it? Oh, well, I think I still struggle personally also because I wanted to lean in more on my feminine side, but I couldn't really. And I felt resentful for that because I was so strong in the workforce and everything I was doing that I wanted to be able to fall back and be more soft. And I kept saying that so many ways, and I don't think it was heard.
What makes you think you couldn't, though?
I don't think you were receiving it.
What is your definition of falling back into your feminine?
I felt like if I stopped, everything stopped. Meaning, so I felt a lot of pressure. I'm supporting my mother. I'm supporting, I'm making sure that the financial, but the business, Curls, set up the legacy for the family.
But that's my point.
I stopped doing what I need to do.
You don't have to stop. And here's the thing. You don't have to stop being amazing. You don't have to stop being the breadwinner. You don't have to stop doing the hustle, being an entrepreneur. The feminine part that you're speaking of, and I'm putting it out there because a lot of women think I gotta go. We're just asking when you walk in the door, turn it off. It's that simple. Yeah. Like you don't have to stop anything. But sometimes women forget.
You can tell this is a conversation.
They understand each other. They understand each other.
You understand what I'm saying? Like I can be.
Right now.
I don't work for you when you come home.
Oh.
You understand?
That's easier said than done.
All right. That's exactly what he tells me all the time.
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
But this one, she's wired different. Like there's no off button.
No, I'm wired different.
There's no off button. There's no off button. She's gotten better, but
I've gotten a lot better, don't you think?
Yeah, no, she's gotten a lot better, but there's emails happening at all hours of the day, in the middle of the night.
I think here's the deal. I grew up, and we have our fears of what we don't want to have to experience again.
Yes.
He grew up, despite what you see, severely overweight. Today, you will not see him eating something that is not healthy. You won't see him not going to work out not less than probably 5 days a week. That's not my fear or battle. My concern is being impoverished again. So I'm running away from that, and he's running away from being fat. So our drivers are different. So I don't know if I can ever stop because I've had this maybe it's not realistic, but I have a fear of going back to that. And now I have more people that have to bring up with me. So I don't know really how to stop.
Well, that is your struggle. What you just expressed is literally the battle of every female entrepreneur who is trying to balance a marriage, relationship, or looking even for love, right? When people see me, they see a robot. They just kind of see this businesswoman and they hold me here. But I really just want to strip it all down and rest in my softness and my femininity.
Yes.
But it is hard when every day you got to put that coat back on.
Yes.
You can put it on, you take it off. You put it on, you take it off, and at some point it just becomes a part of your skin.
Yeah.
I'm gonna speak to this morning.
Yeah.
The first, no.
What are you gonna say?
What are you gonna say? We're a good man, a strong man, level-headed man with women that are amazing and doing their thing. Break in, or intervene. The first thing she did this morning was grab the phone and started going to work. I said, give me the phone. Give your mind at least 20 minutes to wake up. You understand what I'm saying? It's the simple things like that.
That's hard.
I know. But what I said to you before was about the feminine part, where you never have to turn off the business. You never have to turn off the hustle. But when your man says, just look at me, or when your man says, put that phone down, do that part.
Put it down.
That's the little feminine. That 10 seconds, that 10 minutes makes a big difference.
But the fear for me when I say put it down, like if anything went awry with curls, sales would go down or anything, that could impact our bottom line. So that was a stress of not being able to soften up. I could not stop because if it stopped, that means the whole empire would be done, right?
You know what someone told me, Mahisha? They said, because I like you, I run companies, and they said, well, no, you run a job. And I said, well, what do you mean? Well, if it can't run without you, then you don't run a company, you run a job. And that really, it was like, I felt that. I created many jobs for myself. And we have to be able to let go and delegate and trust that the people we're putting in positions, that they are the ones who can carry out our wishes. And then, really just trust that we have executed, and it may not be the way we would do it sometimes, but it's still going to be good.
Yeah.
I know how hard that is. I know you're like, yeah.
No, I hear you. I really do hear it. And I did have a right and left hand in my corner at Curls. It took a while to get there because you know how hard it is to get good people. But there was still this pressure, though, undeniable pressure. I had to see and make sure. We would get our sales reports once a week, and you would see where you fell in the sales chart. And you got ranked your units per store per week, and so if you don't keep moving units every week, you can lose your shelf space. So that pressure was there every week, and I knew that I had a goal. And so I remember thinking, Mahisha, you prayed for this. You prayed to be independent, not to have to ask, and to be one on the other side to give. So this is part of the burden, and that's how I brought myself down. This is a blessing to be able to be on the other side. So take it in stride. I had to talk through myself through that, because while it's hard, it's easier to be on the other side where I came from. So that's how I kind of worked through that part.
And that's your driver, and I fully get it. How are you guys in this moment?
It's great. I think one thing that really shifted, at least for me in our marriage, is when I tried to be less lukewarm in my relationship with God and be more, create more intimacy and be more the leader that He created me to be. His covenant for marriage and just covering her and covering the kids and really kind of embracing and stepping into that role versus just kind of being lukewarm.
Right.
I feel like that's made a big difference. I mean, just trying to create more times for prayer for us, praying together, praying for her. I feel like that's helped.
You became a Bible thumper recently. People are like, you need to be. I'm like, I pray. Thank you very much. Don't clock my prayer time.
I love that.
Don't clock my prayer. You need to pray, but I'm like, I got this. I heard about it.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I think that for a long time, I've always been a believer, but like I was a lukewarm believer. Looking back, I mean, it's clear I was, and now just trying to put God first in everything I do, I think has made a tremendous difference. Not only for me, but I think for our family as well.
Realigned you with purpose.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's awesome.
I love that.
I think, wow, this is such a good conversation because you guys are being super vulnerable, which it's a breath of fresh air. Do you know what I mean? That you're showing up as your true selves.
Yeah, for sure.
And I can tell, like, we can fully relate. Mike and I are not experts at all.
Nope.
And that's the first thing we lead with. Is when you try to present yourself as an expert in a category and you fall short, people are laughing at you. Like,
Absolutely.
oh, but didn't you say?
Exactly.
No, we are literally a work in progress every day. The reason we started this podcast was so we could have a platform to learn from other couples.
Yeah.
You know how they also built and got through.
And just share our experiences for those that may not know. what did you say, 21, 23?
22 years.
22 years, 21 years. Somebody out there is going to gain something from this, right?
Yeah,
so that was the goal of this podcast outside of our TV shows. Like, you know what, let's touch another audience and speak on things that we may not touch on within our show, right? Again, not experts on nothing. We just have some experience on something.
What we had to do was set boundaries, right? Because think about it this way. We created a television show together. That thing has wheels. We literally work together every day. And we run a household together, and we have multiple businesses. It's something's going to go left. Right?
How do you guys do that? I'm sorry to ask the question, but John said he would never work with me. So I don't know how you guys do that.
There was a time in our marriage where we could not work together. Okay. His company was his company, my companies were mine, and honestly, I would source other contractors. He would source other designers just so that we could have some separation. And it felt like we were working against one another. And really, when we got to the heart of the reason why, we were both afraid that too much would break us. And it will only break you if you don't have a solid foundation. So much like you said, you had to go back to praying, being devout, getting in touch with, even if it's not, I'm not saying it doesn't have to be the Bible, but a source. Like, what is the foundation that you both go to draw from? Yeah. And so that was for us, but also I had to respect his boundaries. And he was feeling that up until that point, I was just like you were saying, she's just like wired differently. Right. He's actually said that to me before. At one point he said to me, babe, I feel like you're being too masculine. And I
said mannish.
Mannish.
Okay.
Mannish. And my first response was to get angry and maybe snap back. And I heard God's voice in that moment say, don't, just listen. Just shut up, woman, and listen, right? And I did. And he just talked and talked because, when you hear that at first, you want to take offense. Like, what do you mean? And it's, well, okay, what is mannish to you? And why am I coming off that way? And much like what you said, I don't work for you. But when you come in the door and you're used to just making sure everything is tight and buttoned up and everything is in its place so it flows well, and you think, I'm doing it for everybody. I'm doing it for us. But really, he just wanted me. He just wanted to cuddle up with me. He just wanted me to ask him how his day was. He just wanted a compliment from me. He also didn't like the tone. It wasn't sometimes what I was saying. It was how.
These two right here.
Bro, this is wild how similar.
There's a difference from, babe, can you pass me that plate, please? Babe, pass me that plate.
Am I like that?
Don't lie.
Yeah, no, I'm just here laughing because our stories are almost exactly the same. We're on the same wavelength, but I like the fact that she's definitely very masculine when she needs to be, but she's gotten better in business. But when she comes home, I like the fact that she's not like that with me. Right. And I'm afraid working together, there would be no separation.
Well,
look,
don't compare.
You tightened up, you clammed up when
you said masculine. Yeah.
Masculine.
Yeah.
Human beings have both traits to them.
Yeah.
Right. We got to stop acting as if we don't. And so, for instance, just to say someone is or a female is mannish, it doesn't mean you look like a man, you're built like a man, you sound like a man. It's the attributes, right? If you say, babe, can you clean my car for me, right? I'm headed to the car wash. And you're like, where you going? Oh, I'm going to clean your car. Why you didn't tell me? Why you didn't bring me with you? I want to come back in too. Let me clean the car. You get what I'm saying? Just something like that. You now become mannish.
Yeah.
Right?
And,
I feel that.
And not so much, what I realize is he didn't mean like, babe, you're being a man or you're being so. It's more so you're not allowing me to be a man, right, as well. And so what I was explaining, and once I've really heard him, and maybe you guys can relate to this, I know you probably will. I feel like often women, we rise in our masculine when we don't feel safe or we don't feel like we don't feel like we can rest in our feminine because you haven't risen in your masculine. Does that make sense? And so there can often be when relationships go through change, an imbalance occurs. And it's difficult to find the balance in a relationship again because it's not ever going to be what it once was.
Right.
So you got to re-meet.
Yes.
So we had to re-meet one another. And we often have to do that every few years of where are you now? How do you feel now? What makes you happy now? What do you like now? Is your favorite color changed now? What do you like to eat now? You know, we have to re-meet. That's how we can stay married so long and still excite one another, because the things he talks to me and shares with me now aren't the things he used to.
That's a good point, because our therapist said the same thing about sitting down. She had us do homework. Who are you now? Where are you going to be 5 and 10 years? We were at a point where we're almost going to get a divorce. How long ago? 2 years ago?
2-3 years ago.
And Dr. Jackie really came in and she really helped coach us. And it was a period of time when we weren't even, how long was it for you? It was a hard time for you, huh? That was.
Well, I think that was a culmination of just holding all that in for so long and not expressing it. And it really took those difficult conversations for me to really just open up about that resentment that had grown over the years. I just, I wasn't feeling appreciated. I felt like I gave up a lot so that you could do this amazing thing, and I didn't feel appreciated. I mean, there was just a lot. Yeah. So once I was able to open that up, and then that coincided with me growing closer in my relationship with God, that's when we noticed a change. But to your point, that's something we're still working on now. I mean, there's new seasons, right? This is a new season of our marriage. We, 3 of our 4 kids are like out of the house.
That's going to be
so now, when you're running businesses and then you have a family, like everything is, like with the kids, they were very involved in sports. And so like your whole day is filled with activities after work, after business, you're running around with the kids. Now we have more free time. So it's like now we get to date again now. So we're in that.
Make sure to make time.
Right. But so now we have to check in. So we're exactly where you guys, what you were just talking about, like we need to check in, let's get to know each other once again.
I think there's an important point to mention about when you're about to become an empty nester. We had some issues, right? Because prioritizing the kids first, we struggle with that because John would, and I'm like, that's not what it's supposed to be. Like Kennedy is not, she's a baby, not supposed to come before your wife in need or request or follow-up or preference, feeding first, and he struggled with that, and it was a problem for me.
Yeah.
See, now explain, right?
I get it. I get that totally. Because, see, the problem is there's a chain of command, right?
No.
Yet, if you are in faith, there's a chain of command.
Well, okay, I know biblically.
Right?
Biblically, I understand.
Well, let's not detour from it.
I understand, but here we go again.
Here's why I'm saying.
When Harper was born, Mike, and even our one of our oldest children, I can't even say it right, when Harper was born, Mike and Kendall, she's our middle baby, both felt that my life just revolved around Harper, and I forgot about everything and everybody else. And they both grew a bit of resentment, and I was just trying to be all things. I was still working, and I was still trying to hang from the chandeliers, and I was just trying to do it all. But also the thing that people don't consider is the women we go through, and not just women, especially if he's the one who is staying at home with the kids, we can go through a bit of a postpartum. It's not just for pregnant women.
Right.
Like if you're the one that's always with the kids and, it drains you. It does. And you go through a bit of a postpartum as well. It's like, can I just come up for air, a little bit? But there was some level of resentment, because, and so now I understand that there's supposed to be this chain of command. Of
Absolutely.
Like, you're supposed to cling to your husband and cling to your wife, and then
the
everybody
kids,
else
God, and then the spouse.
But they're the ones who need you. They can't change their own diapers.
Yeah, but see, as when they're little, that was one thing. So we did a great job of tag teaming when they're little because we had a bunch of them. But now I'm like, okay, they're older. And I'm starting to see that we did make them the center of our worlds. Like, of course, as babies and toddlers, we had to be 110% hands-on. But as they've grown older, I saw that there were some discrepancies on how we were managing this relationship. And it wasn't good for me. He had to figure that out.
Yeah.
That's
hard. True. That is true. I think that, again, just really kind of going back to the covenant and really figuring out, like, that order that you mentioned, I kind of gotten away from it. I kind of, like, I just felt like I'm going to take care, because I was so used to taking care of the kids during that time with Curls. Like, not that she wasn't around, but I just did a lot of the stuff, like taking them to the park, all that stuff. I did most of their activities. I just kind of got used to that. Like, and the kids got used to it. Like, mom would be there, and they would never ask mom to take them to practice. It was just assumed that I'd be taking them. Right. And so for years, that's just kind of how it was. And it did take that situation 2-3 years ago when we were going through the counseling and hearing Mahisha say what she needs and feeling like she's not getting that from me, right? Putting her first and making her a priority. That really sparked a change in how I looked at
Was that the most valuable thing you learned in counseling, or was there something else?
We've done some form of counseling since we were dating. I think it's been huge. Right?
Yeah.
We've been doing it for years. I think what's helpful for me in counseling is sometimes when we're conversating with each other, and we don't even have to be arguing, you kind of go into that, at least I do. I go into those conversations with kind of like a roadmap of how I think it should go or what I want to get out of it. And sometimes that prevents me from really, I hear her, but I'm not listening. So to have that, and Dr. Jackie, she's amazing. And there's a lot of amazing relationship therapists out there. She does a great job of like forcing you to hear her and listen, right? And then she always gives us homework. And so it's through that homework that I really started to put 2 and 2 together.
Gotcha. Speaking of homework, can we discuss your mindsets, because you're so well off, you're doing amazing, right? Mindsets and your trajectory. Can you tell the entrepreneur out there how you took it from nothing to something, from curls to Huzzy?
It was all about having my back against the wall. When you thrive when the pressure, at least I do, pressure cooks me and boils me up to my optimum level where I need to be. It really does, makes me rise. So for me, it was that pressure of knowing that there was either this or nothing. I had to make it. It was going to make it. It wasn't if, it was when. So perseverance, determination, grit, which you can't teach grit. You got to either you have it or you don't.
Right.
But really just being able to push past 1,000 no's, having a clear vision, knowing your purpose, and knowing that you have a plan to get where you want to be. Unfortunately, I mentor a lot of people, and a lot of the women I mentor don't have business plans.
Okay.
You got to start there. Like, you need to have a life plan, a vision plan, a mission for yourself. We do it for our families at top of the year, what we want to see as a family collectively, what they want more from us as parents. I think it's really important to be intentional. And that's what I've been. Intentional day one, determined, gritty, scrappy. I will figure something out. You present a challenge to me, I'll figure a way out of it.
Yeah.
What are
I promise you.
What would you say are the 3 key steps to having a product, developing it, getting it on shelves, and then turning around and selling your company?
Okay, so make sure first and foremost it's a viable need, right? Because you may think it's the best thing to slice bread. Like, people want pink dog food. A Dallas woman did this for some reason.
Pink dog food?
Pink dog food, because it's her favorite color. Not a good business idea, okay?
Right.
So make sure it's a viable business someone needs, an untapped need that someone would also benefit from. So make sure you do your due diligence. Research. Once you see the numbers and it's a viable business, then start vetting your numbers, seeing what it costs to produce it, what your competition is doing, how you can be better than them. If they're doing something weak, that's a good time to figure out how to be better so you can sell against them. Not everyone needs to be in retail. Some people have a different business model, but retail is cash cow, so it can do well if you are really successfully lined up.
Okay.
If you want to be in retail, you have to definitely be aware of all the pros and cons. People call me all the time, I want to get in retail, can you help me? If you don't sustain those sales, guess how much you can lose if they have to delete your product? A lot. And it can cost your entire shirt, your business, everything. So be ready for that. And I also say a lot of women, and Black women, we are matriarchs. So we like to, we stand in our strength. And that's a beautiful thing. But I don't think we should think about or consider going it alone ever. Have your pool of support team members, the people that can help pull you up when you need assistance. He was it for me. Having a strong team to start off with, of course. Not relying on yourself like we talked about, because we got to delegate. You can't run a business if you're doing everything.
Right.
You have to hire people more senior, more experienced, more educated, more intelligent to run a business. And then continue the cycle. I'm doing a rinse and repeat. I've learned a lot from curls. I've had some mistakes and missteps. Did I make a great product and do I have success? Absolutely. But I made some things a little difficult that I didn't need to as a first-time entrepreneur. But I'm taking those lessons into Huzzy.
Okay.
And so a lot, for me, my failures were devastating blows. but I had to learn that they were not final.
Right.
Failure's
Only
not
if
final.
you stay down.
Right.
Only
If you stay down.
Right.
I had to get myself up and say that was a
So
lesson.
before we get out of here, though, we'd be remiss because you said you're working on a sneaker line.
Yeah. So this was during COVID. A good friend of mine. We were just stuck at home. We both work for the same company, work in the medical space and healthcare space, and we were just bored and we were tired. We're both sneakerheads. Both from the East Coast. Just tired of like missing out on getting sneakers on the sneakers app and all that. It's like, man, you know what? This is ridiculous. I'm not paying all this resale price. So we made our own sneakers. We started the process. This is a long process, more of kind of like a hobby project. And so we started really small. We just went through the whole process, never ever created sneakers before. So it took a long time to kind of learn how to design and find the manufacturers, get samples, do social. I'm not big on
What's
social.
the name of your sneaker line?
It's called Collection Plate.
Collection Plate.
The
Okay.
website is collectionplatebrand.com. So we have our first line out. It's done really well. We still have some left. So
Mine in the mail.
yeah, that's right. I got you. So we're working on our second collection right now. So this has been fun.
Well, congratulations. And then, okay, hold on. This is what we all have to do. We have to test out. This is their mocktail. Okay.
So you have to flip it before you sip it because one thing, Egypt, it's not a mocktail. That's a bad word.
Not. Okay, tell me.
Mocktails add to your waistline. No benefits. It's a functional, non-alcoholic cocktail.
Okay.
Functional non-alcoholic cocktail.
Because what's a function?
Huzzy.
Yes. Now the
Where'd the name
functionality
come from?
are the nootropics and adaptogens that give you a nice euphoric feeling without alcohol.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And they're gluten-free, non-GMO, low carb, low cal.
From no kill.
And they have liver protectors and gut health added because if you drink at all, both of those are impacted, right?
Okay.
So this is a better vibe, better buzz.
I'm going to just drink it straight from the can.
You said better buzz. This
I'm
buzz?
Better
going
buzz.
hood
After a can,
with
you'll
the
feel
straight from
a
the
lift
can.
and a float after a full can.
Well, one to go on, one to grow on. What we going on now?
Okay. Hold on. Hold on.
We going to the hospital.
It's actually really good. What do you mean we're going to the
You over here choking?
That's only because you asked me while I was in the middle of drinking, silly goose. All right, so wait, where are these available now?
So we are available in Amazon and also our website, but going to Sprouts soon.
Yes.
And we have other retailers interested. We have, H-E-B, Kroger, Walmart.
Congratulations.
A lot interested. And we're
Wow.
we're about 6 months old.
That's awesome.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Phenomenal.
That's awesome.
So one to go on, one to grow on. How about if we toss it to you guys? One to go on. That's what we give, just our word of advice.
I have a good one. Open up to each other and don't be afraid to communicate. That's I think the important thing. No matter what's happening, you have to communicate. A lot of our friends got divorced. They're like 20 plus, even more years married than us.
Yeah.
Didn't make it. And it's because, and what happened? The breakdown of the love, the communication, the partnership. If you communicate, you can keep it together. I know you've changed. I've changed, and I told you what I wanted, and
Yeah.
Okay,
changing.
that's the one to grow on, one to go on.
One to grow on.
One to go on. So, I mean, I just feel like this. When in marriage, when you are married to a successful woman, as a man, I'm going to speak from a man's perspective because as I've opened up and shared this, I've got a lot of, people, a lot of men have reached out to me about it.
Yeah.
Got to let go of your ego. I think that, there's more to being the head of the household than being the breadwinner.
Yes.
It's very clear that in our household, I'm the head, but also understand that it's not an ego thing. There's a lot of responsibility as a head of the household. You got to be willing to accept that responsibility. I mean, I'm responsible for her, my kids. I'm responsible for covering them. So it's a heavy, heavy responsibility, but it's one that I embrace. It's the one that she respects, and I love the fact that she allows me to, she gives me the responsibility of being the head, to cover her, to bring her up when she's down. But I think men a lot of times need to just let go of their ego.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
love
I
that.
struggled with it for a long time.
Let go of the ego, but the real gem there was when you said there's a lot more to being the head of a household than just money.
Yes.
Yes. Yes,
Because
you could cover
society
them.
will say otherwise.
Yeah, you got to cover your family in prayer. You got to cover them and ground them.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm grateful for my husband for that. That was an important lesson that I learned too in our growth. But guys, this This was a good one.
Yes,
this
it
a
was.
good one,
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here and sharing truly your journey and your hearts with us.
We appreciate
John,
you.
Mahisha Dellinger, guys. Make sure you pick it up, Huzzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And make sure you subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend, all right? Marriage Your Money Podcast.
Bye, guys.
I got him to open up.
Yeah.
He does not.